talk about anything.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a little bit about your background here, because some of the other movies, how you started was with Troma, right?
Yeah, I basically had made a film and sold it to Troma, and then had a little gig with them on their TV show, and met a lot of great people through them, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, you made this movie, uh, Ghouls. Is that, and you got a review in Variety about that was positive.
Yeah, no, Unspeakable was the film that I sold to Troma, and then that my next film, The Ghouls, basically got a great write up in Variety, which led to, a potential remake with Weinstein, and I mean, that's a whole other story. But that went around for a while, and the power of the pen, or a good review can really move things.
Oh, absolutely. What was the thing about you got a rejection letter from Paramount?
Well, back in the day, you would basically make a film and you would submit it to, everyone. So I, submitted to, Warner Brothers, Paramount, 20th Century Fox, just being a dumb kid with, it was a producer's handbook that had addresses to every distributor and company. So it was basically sending out VHS tapes of your film to the acquisitions team of every major studio, every distributor, Lionsgate to Troma to everyone, and then hoping for the best. And getting a rejection letter from Paramount was a highlight of my career.
What? So you have it like framed or something?
It's buried somewhere in the garage with all my other junk that you collect over the years. There was always the story of, a filmmaker back in the day. They'd make this great film and they'd have like 5 hours of deleted scenes and and the negative in their garage, and people would go, "Oh my God, how could that get lost?" And I'm like, well, pretty easily, because after so many years of collecting this shit, you kind of just lose interest in it and it just disappears or burns up or whatever it might be. So I could totally relate to how those great films have lost their footage over the years. If you just get so much stuff that you can't really keep an eye on it anymore.
Really? So do you have a lot of like cool, like old film props and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, tons of stuff.
Because they're in this new movie that's called Pig Killer, which we'll talk more about. But I just want, like, that just reminded me, in that movie there's there's a couple props. There's the pig mask, which I was like, that thing is cool.
Right.
And then there's the dildo gun, which
Yeah.
apparently was like, I read up on this was a real thing. This is based on a true story, and this guy really did have like a dildo gun.
Yeah, no, he had a dildo silencer on his pistol, and he killed a couple victims with it. It was one of those things of, the true case facts of the case were more bizarre than anything I could ever think up. So that's why 90% of what's in the movie actually happened. And there's just it's frightening. And the mask was kind of an embellishment of my nod to Motel Hell. So that was just one of the little things that I threw in there, just because the visual is great, especially on Jake Busey with this big pig head.
Yeah. So what did you do with those two props? Did you keep those, or someone else?
No, I let Joe Castro keeps those. That's kind of the thing, that with the deal we have, and it's like he keeps all that kind of stuff. And then if we ever need it in the future, he's got it on safekeeping for us.
Remind me again, who's
Joe Castro does all the special effects, and he created the pig mask and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So explain to the story, because I don't know if I had ever heard of this story. Apparently, this guy is the biggest, most prolific serial killer in Canada. He's the pig. They call him the pig killer.
Yeah, and he killed like 49 women and chopped them up and fed them to his pigs, and then the pigs got ground up for meat, and people ate them. And it's it's one of those things with Canada. They kind of they kept a lid on a lot of the press for it to leak out. It took decades for it to really get the full details of the case, but they kept it pretty hush hush, because that stuff doesn't really happen in Canada. So they were good about keeping a lid on the press and that leaking out.
They weren't. It didn't leak out from like the news or anything, like, at all.
The news ran minimal stuff on it, but the whole case and the whole trial was very kind of hush hush. It wasn't like something here where it would be sensationalized for years. And everyone would he'd be a household name. He's still kind of the only really way I found out about him, the producer Kate Patel grew up in Vancouver, so she knew about the case and knew about everything like that, and she brought it to me, and then pitched it, and it went from there. But I had never heard of him before meeting her.
How accurate is the film to the true events? Because from what I read and then what I've watched of the movie, it seems to be pretty accurate.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's 90% true. He threw the parties, he had concerts, he picked up prostitutes, he fed them in drugs and whatnot, injected windshield washer fluid into them, kind of dope them up, have his way with them, right? Kill them, then cut them up, feed them to his pigs, and his cohort Pat, who played by Kurt Bonzel in the film, had the neck tracheotomy, he had all that stuff, all that it was actual stuff. The woman who escaped. She was a combination of like two victims, one that got away and another one that didn't get away. So it was kind of combining those two actual victims. And, the mother being abusive and the father, all that stuff is true. The sex part with the mother, I kind of embellished. Who knows? You don't know whether that did happen or didn't happen. So I just kind of put that in there just because it's a visual beauty of him making love to Ginger Lynn.
Yeah, that was a crazy scene. So the guy with the neck tracheotomy, what was wrong with his dick? His dick was like all deformed or something. It was
it was bitten off by a pig when he was a kid.
So that was real too?
I think so. There was something, he had some phobia with pigs, I knew, so I kind of embellished the biting the dick part. But he had some, in the true case, he had something against pigs or didn't want to be near them. So I kind of assumed something tragic had happened with a pig. So I put that in.
Okay, yeah. So talk about these parties. He had this thing called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society, and he actually registered it as like a charity with the Canadian government.
Right. So yeah, him and his brother got all this money because they started selling off large portions of their farmland, so they were instant millionaires. So he not only had kind of a celebrity with these parties now that he could afford to have concerts and have drugs and women at his disposal. So he kind of was just kind of an instant celebrity, kind of a hick farm boy, now had all this money and could play these weird twisted games of his. So it was kind of just he would throw these parties, and they called it the Piggy Good Time Society, which was kind of, I guess they would get some tax discount or whatever it would be from the government. And just another thing that's just a weird, just kind of colorful thing to his character. It's just so many things that you couldn't really make up on your own,
Well, and how did all these people go to these parties and not realize this guy was nuts, or they didn't see evidence of things?
Well, I think that's the thing. On the surface, he didn't seem all that nuts. He was just, kind of a smelly, awkward kind of guy. But he must have still had some charm, or that was one of the things that's great about Jake. He's got a certain amount of charm, and even though he's doing horrible things, you're able to kind of get beyond that because he's so charming or funny or weird or whatever it might be. And people that Willie, the actual killer, gravitated to abducting and whatnot were fringe society prostitutes and forgotten women. So it's an easy, and especially if you're feeding them drugs and heroin and all these things, it's kind of an easier thing to control them or to get them into your trailer and do unspeakable things to them.
Yeah, and so I thought I read that the Hells Angels went to these parties too.
Yeah, no, I read that as well. And, there was even a thing that Nickelback actually performed at one of the things, is one of the
Oh, great. That's more evidence for people to hate Nickelback.
Exactly.
So is that what, because you have some musician that's there and the girl is all excited. Oh, you got this. And I was trying to figure out, was this a real thing or is this a fictionalized part?
Well, no, he's a real musician, of course, Gerard McMahon. He was kind of a pop sensation in the 80s, and he did his most famous song, Cry Little Sister, in Lost Boys.
Oh, love that song.
He's just a friend of mine, and I approached him before I even started writing the script and said, hey, look, this real life character had these parties going on and had concerts and different characters, and seeing your music is correct to that period, the 80s and 90s. Would it be possible to use some of your songs and then also get you to perform in the film? And he was game for it, and that really kind of helped get the ball rolling, creatively for the script to kind of be an inspiration of this music of the period and kind of the whole party angle and the concerts, and kind of just help make it more real to the period.
So
he didn't actually play at the Piggy Palace.
Okay, yeah, because I don't think I got to that part. It was like, I'm at the part where the girl's like, she's like, oh, you're getting Gerard McMahon. So that is his music on the soundtrack though? Because I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out this. I like the soundtrack. It's
Yes,
his music. Okay.
it's all his music, and a couple other bands of the period that he was able to get their music for as well to put in there in the soundtrack. But he performs in it, and so does Steve Hitzelberger of Loud Sugar, which was again a '90s band that kind of fits the period. So
Okay. So then how do you get Jake Busey? Because he's great in this. I love Jake. I'm a big Jake Busey fan from like his roles, the stoner and PCU. I don't know if you
right,
remember.
right.
Yeah, he's done so many weird roles and like he's perfect for this. Did he request to be in this or did you have to try to convince him?
No, I originally I was in talks with Fred Durst playing the role, and
What?
yeah. Fred Durst,
Wow.
he's a friend of a friend, and he read the script, he loved the script, and he's like, "Hey, let's make this happen." And then I'm like, "Well, that's great." And he's like, I just want some changes in the script. I want to take out, like some of this penis stuff and all these other kind of things because of the whole Me Too movement." And I'm like, no, it's you either commit to this 100% as is. I mean, I'm open to collaborating and changing a few things, but toning it down because of some bullshit movement, I mean, fuck you. So he was gone, and then my producer Jeff Olin suggested, hey, I'm friends with Gary Busey's wife. What do you think of Jake getting the script to Jake and see if he'd be interested? And I said, let's give it a shot. And he sent it to her. She sent it to Jake. Jake loved the script. We met up, and he was great. And he was on board, and we made it happen.
I'm glad you didn't sacrifice your creative integrity. I mean, Me Too movement, I understand the movement, whatever, but this is about a serial killer. The guy didn't follow the rules. He also murders people. Are you going to take out the murder and the rape? I mean, that's what he did. Like, you're portraying the story as is.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that can get you get so excited by like, oh, Fred Durst, this would be great. He would probably he would have done the score. He would have there would have been just this great thing, and we were talking about it. But then he says one thing of changing this, and then this, and then my experience is if you give even an inch of changing something so big like that, he would want to change everything all the way through, and then pretty much soon you'd lose control, and it would not be your movie anymore, and you'd be pulling your hair out and angry. So I decided to take the easier way. And Jake, from the get was, excited about the script, loved it, and was just a joy to work with.
Yeah, no, I think he does a good job of portraying he's acting, obviously. I'm sure he's not that creepy in real life, but he's just such a good actor. Like, he can be kind of weird, right?
Yeah, no, he's great all around. And he really, kind of just, when you're shooting these things, you got 12 pages a day and 10 days to shoot, and you get it done. And he was, on the mark, 1 or 2 takes, we got it, and we move on.
Is it creepy or is it awkward, like, filming this stuff? Because I mean, it's got to be weird I know obviously it's a movie and it's fake, but it's still got to be weird for the people involved.
No, I think because it's such a small crew, and it's less. There's with him and the actor, it would be me, the DP, Ginger Lynn, and the sound guy, and so it would kind of be, even though it was a claustrophobic trailer, it still kind of gave them the intimacy was kind of separated because we're kind of in the back, they're in the back of the trailer, and we're catching this thing, so it wasn't really as uncomfortable as it might sound. They had kind of the freedom to do what they want, and if it did get uncomfortable, all they had to do is scream, and we would figure something else out. But everyone was game and seemed to have a good time.
Yeah. How much research did you do on the true story? I mean, obviously you've read did you read like books? Did you interview people, or how deep did you go?
When she mentioned it, the idea, I went home and I watched a couple documentaries, and then I read up as much as I could find on the internet, and then kind of took I knew that he grew up on a pig farm, and I knew that, all this kind of stuff. So I was able to kind of mirror my own I grew up on a farm as well in the Midwest, and, we had pigs and we had horses and all that kind of stuff. And I was, kind of a loner. So I was kind of able to understand and get into Willie's head of seeing I kind of grew up in a similar situation. And, instead of killing people, I make movies. So, as long as you have a creative outlet for your demons, you'll be okay. And obviously Willie didn't have a creative outlet.
Right. Yeah. So what's weird too is that the story, from what I understand, is that it says he's available for or he can get parole after 25 years. You can get parole after you're a serial killer. I've never heard of this. Is this a Canadian thing?
Yeah, well, that's how they roll up there. No, well, he was only convicted of second-degree murder on 2 victims, so I guess it makes sense for their thing.
So
Well,
like, do they find like the driver's licenses and stuff in the trailer? Is that how they suspect that he killed those people, because they found the driver's license, but there's no
yeah,
like, evidence of the body? Because like you said, like I think he ground it up and they either fed it to the pigs or insects, or like it decomposed naturally where there's like nothing left.
yeah, I think that's the whole thing. If they didn't find the bodies, they have no case. So they were able to. They possibly just found the DNA of maybe those 2 victims, and that's how it kind of worked out.
That's crazy. But he confessed to some of it, right?
Well, he confessed, like the video, when you see it after the end credits, there's a
Oh,
scene that's actually verbatim of what the undercover police officer recorded with him. I won't give that away, but that's, watch the whole thing until the end credits. There's like an extra scene with James Russo in it, and it's great. But that was actually taken verbatim of what the undercover police officer said to Willie that got, helped get him convicted.
is it hard to get the rights for something like this? Like, how does that work? Because it is this guy's story. Do you have to have people sign off, or like how? I mean,
No,
did,
if they're famous like this, in this famous case, you're able to do a lot. And I also changed the names and the spelling of some of the stuff, so that gives you even more legal freedom without because anybody could sue anybody. But it was one of those things. The producers were like, just change the last name or change the spelling or whatever, so it gives it a more of a blanket of us not being sued. So that was kind of the way I went.
yeah, okay, that's yeah, because that would be something that would worry me doing a movie like that. So you don't need to like get the right. Or I guess if somebody had written a book and it was based on the book, but you're just taking the story in general and just making your own.
Right, like they make Richard Speck and Ted Bundy movies all the time. So I think it's just it's kind of, or you can make fun of the president or put a president and the famous people to whatever degree you have a freedom to use them, a fair use, I guess it would be called in the legal.
Okay, yeah, I think that's how I get away with putting pictures and video clips, as long as it's like I'm commenting about it or something like that.
Right,
Different
right.
spoof. So yeah, because you have some dark humor in this too, which is like kind of weird. I mean, some of it, like the dildo gun, like I mean, that's actually being accurate. So I guess that, I mean, that is, but it is kind of funny. And there's other like little like things that you do that are just, they're kind of like humorous.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to go this dark and this, perverted, there should be, lighter moments to kind of carry you through. So it's not a complete slog of depression of, seeing this guy, there has to be a certain amount of charm to him and a humor and, kind of to carry you through. And that was kind of and to me, is a lot of it is just, I write it and film it and kind of go with a gut instinct. So if it feels light or it comes out and it works, then I usually go with it. It's not just being stuck to whatever the script might say. And I'm open to, once the actors get there and they play it out, sometimes it works dark, sometimes it works funny, sometimes you kind of see how it rolls, and I'm open to creatively kind of going whichever works best for me.
Yeah, this seems to be your highest rated movie on IMDb, for whatever that's worth. Like, so it seems like it's getting good review. Well, like they're not real kind to the Troma films and stuff, but
Sure.
but this one is a little bit, I feel like it's like, is this your best film, you feel like?
It's right up there. I really, had a great time doing it, and everyone was a blast to work with, and that's all I can really. They're all different, and sometimes one hits with an audience, one times they don't. The thing is as many people see it is always the greatest thing, and you'll always get someone calling it the worst film ever made, or someone will say it's the best film ever made. So you take it all with a grain of salt.
Do you feel like you get better as a filmmaker the more movies that you make?
Oh yeah, you learn from your mistakes, and you learn, but sometimes a story clicks, and an actor is right for it. Sometimes you make these things and everyone's great except that one guy, or that there's something in it that's off and it's not firing on all cylinders. Whereas Pig Killer kind of clicked, all the way through, from filming to editing to, as we're talking now. So it's one of those things that I think has probably the best also marketability with the whole true story angle, and, that his crimes were so, bizarre. It really helps the marketing, and it helps, and the distributor so far is doing a great job of really, setting up these interviews and getting it into theaters, and, putting out, the best version of it possible. So it's exciting.
Yeah. How will you distribute it? So you said theaters. Will it be on streaming? And if so, which streaming
Yeah,
platforms?
it opens up theatrically on the 17th at select theaters, and then it plays streaming on the 21st everywhere, and then Blu-ray and DVD from Vinegar Syndrome on December 26th.
So when the streaming, you'd have to pay for it. Though. It's not like going to be like free on Netflix or Hulu or whatever.
I think they try to do the Netflix and Hulu deals. All that stuff has become so they're making their own crap, so they don't really pick up that many independent stuff. But if they do, the distributor tries to get it on there, but it'll eventually hit Tubi and whatever after it does its initial run on the pay for streamings.
Okay, yeah, because like I think Amazon Prime, I think they're more open. They have a lot of more indie movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they pay like a penny an hour or something.
Is that
Like
what it is? Is it really that bad?
When these SAG idiots whine about their stupid strike and all this crap, know that the filmmaker makes this stuff, and they, bust their ass, and the actors do as well. And then it gets out there, but, Amazon or these things only pay you such a fraction of money. So residuals, trickle down to me to, a couple cents here. So when you cut that up, it's even less to an actor. So it's hard to point fingers at, things, but I would say, Amazon is really one of the worst, when it comes
really,
to
that's interesting because they have the most money. I would think, or they have a lot. I mean,
that's how they have it, I guess.
Well, his wife has like half of it now. It's just,
that's true.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So like, it's better to get a producer credit. You help produce this one too, then I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, it's me and Robert Miano and Robert Ryan and Jeff Olin and Kate, and we kind of all pool in and split up the producing duties and do it. But I usually sell my films, so I work as a sales agent as well. So I broker the deals with the distributor and all that kind of stuff. After so many years of doing this and learning from Troma the rights and wrongs of deal making, it helped me kind of be able to make some really nice deals on these films and at least get it out there, get it seen, and have some money coming in to pay the people who worked on it.
So what have you learned? If you could share that with if somebody wants to make a movie, what are some mistakes that they should avoid?
Well, the mistake, a lot of people think, they get these sales agents to sell their films abroad and to try to get them a deal with, U.S. distributors and whatnot. And these guys usually take, 25%. And then they also charge like a $50,000, $25,000 fee to take it to, Cannes and to AFM and to do all this stuff, when you really don't need to go that route. You could do it yourself and, find a distributor and see if they like it. And if they like it, you broker a deal not only for the US, but also for foreign. So they're doing the foreign sales, and you have a non-exclusive on the foreign. So if they're doing a shitty job selling it to all these different countries at AFM, and you're able to say, okay, I'm going to go find someone else to do that, or I'm going to do that myself. There's a great company in Germany. I'll call them up and say, hey, do you want to take a look at the film? We love the film. We'll give you this much. So you're able to kind of bypass a middleman, save a 25% cut, and kind of, do it yourself. But, the devil is in the details with these contracts, because a lot of them have so many little hidden things of, they charge a fee for this or this and this. So it's just really kind of, after you've making enough films and looking at so many different contracts, that you're able to kind of, and knowing what you can get taken out and what they're bendable on, as far as terms, is really the key of getting a good deal. No matter how good the distributor is, if your deal is shit, it's not going to get anywhere. But if you have a good deal and they put a modicum of effort in releasing it, you're going to do okay.
Yeah, I think I heard you talking about, like, for most of your films, you convince the producers to sign on, and that they usually at least make their money back and hopefully more. And then especially as time goes on, there's royalty credits, right?
Yeah, and if you keep the budgets low, under 200, you're okay. Going over $200,000, you better have a name that's marketable overseas and all this stuff, because it's just, this day and age, it's hard to make that back.
Yeah. So what is your goal? Do you have another project already lined up after this one?
Yeah, we're shooting another H.P. Lovecraft film, Beyond the Wall of Sleep, in December with Eddie Furlong, Bai Ling, Jake Busey, Robert Miano, Susan Prever, Ginger Lynn. So,
Eddie Furlong. Okay, I was
yeah.
a big fan of his Terminator 2.
Oh, he's great. American History X is
yeah, that one
phenomenal.
too. Even Pecker with
Yeah, Pecker's great too.
yeah, he's done some great. Yeah, he kind of disappeared for a while, so he's doing okay then.
Yeah, no, he's doing great, and he's the lead of the film, and it should be fun
Okay, awesome. Well, I have to come back and promote that when it comes out.
for sure.
All right. Well, thanks so much for doing this, and we'll get this out soon. People should.
Right.
And the movie comes out again the 17th. You said theaters.
17th theaters, and then 21st streaming, and then December 26th Blu-ray.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the full podcast episode. Please help support our guests by following them on social media and purchasing their products, whether it be a book, album, film, or other thing. And if you have a few extra dollars, please consider donating it to their favorite charity. If you want to support the show, you can like, share, and comment on this episode on social media and YouTube. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can give us a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. Finally, make sure you're subscribed to the show on YouTube for the video versions and other exclusive content. We appreciate your support. Have a great rest of your day and shoot for the moon.